miles an hour speeds, four-wheel drive technology, which will come in quite handy. So if the cars are the stars, though, I guess that makes the racers our star pilots or the on-track astronauts, and enough of the right stuff movie analogies. Let's set the grid for today's race and start the action, then we can get into all the backstories and details that make this series what it is.
So, in first position, car number 7, Dylan McIvern from Mitcham Motorsports. In position number 2, car number 99, Victor González from Lamborghini Carolinas and Change Racing. Position number 3, car number 29, Kevin Conway from Lamborghini Carolinas and Change Racing. Position number 4, car 80, Mr. Lee Carpentier from Lamborghini Palm Beach and Mitcham Motorsports. Position number 5, car number 88, David Welch, Lamborghini Van Racing. Position number 7, car number 76, a car shared by 2 drivers with Corey Lewis and Aaron Povledo from Lamborghini Boston and Mustang Motorsports.
The race cars are approaching the S's and the start-finish. Race 1 finish order determined the starting order for race 2. The stories are pretty clear for this race 2. Obviously, a rain-conditioned racetrack. The four-wheel drive, traction control, and ABS will help the drivers. As they approach the S's, the start is about to commence. Exiting the S's side by side, our front row takes the green flag, and we are racing side by side into turn 1. Their first opportunity to really test the capabilities of this car and the grip that this Canadian Tire Motorsport Park is presenting them.
And continuing with the lineup, position number 8, car number 1, Thomas Pickler from Lamborghini Dallas and Jota Corsa. Position number 9, car number 33, Tom O'Gara and Dean DiGiacomo from Lamborghini Beverly Hills and GMG Racing. Position number 10, car 77, Joe Courtney from Lamborghini Boston and Mustang Motorsport. Position number 11, car number 73, Bryn Owen from Lamborghini Boston and Mustang Motorsports. And rounding up the pack in position number 12, car number 63, John Ferrano with Lamborghini Dallas and Jota Corsa.
And actually, thanks, Jason. That sets the story for this race, too. John Ferrano is competing with Kevin Conway for the Pro Championship. Going into race 1, Conway had the lead, but it was a close points total. With Ferrano's DNF in race 1, that points differential has jumped to a 25-point gap. It was 15. A win gets you 15 points. Kevin Conway was on the podium, collected an extra 10. Other redemption stories. The pole sitters, Povledo and Lewis, had a stop-and-go penalty in the pit stop. This race is a 50-minute race, but a combination of sprint and endurance racing skills. A mandatory pit stop is part of the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series racing. Somewhere between the 20th and 30th minute of competition, the racers are required to make a pit stop. Not to change tires, not to work on the car, but to take advantage of teams that elect to run co-drivers. Povledo and Lewis are one of those such teams. Here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, from pit entry to pit exit, it is a 90-second minimal pit stop time. Of the 12 racers, 2 have elected to have co-drivers, the others have not. Minimum 90-second stop. If you make the driver change within that time, good to go. If you're slower, you end up penalizing yourself. Povledo and Lewis are 2 of those racers that suffered a penalty and are looking for redemption. The last racer looking to change his first race performance is Brian Owen, also from Lamborghini of Boston, looking to improve his position. He had good practice and qualifying times and a little bit of an issue in race 1. As we head into the first minutes of this race, Victor González, car 99, has taken the lead from Lee Carpentier. Aaron Povledo and Corey Lewis working on that redemption right now sit in P3. Kevin Conway, our points leader, car number 29, is in 4th. David Welch, car 88. Dylan McIvern, our winner from yesterday's race 1, P6. Kevin O'Connell, Thomas Pickler. John Ferrano has moved up from his end of the grid position already to P9. Joe Courtney, Brian Owen, and Tom O'Gara and Dean Giacomo round out the field. As these cars make their way around this racetrack, obviously there are a couple of things to note with the track conditions. All-wheel drive, traction control, and ABS assist these drivers to get around the track, but it is like any racing, the rain line gives you the maximum grip. Watch as they go through these corners. Some of them are using those pavement patches, which a couple of years ago were replaced concrete to create this high grip surface of asphalt. At the same point in time, that rain line may be going around a couple of those. I think we saw that in corners like turn 5 up in Moss. Additionally, an all-wheel drive car gives you prodigious traction coming out of corners. Yesterday in the dry, you could see drivers taking different lines with their front-wheel drive capability. Some of the drivers like to rotate the car, make a late apex, get the front wheels pointed straight, and throttle out of the corner. Others took advantage of the capabilities of all-wheel drive, a little bit of an earlier apex, shorter distance, throttled out. In the rain, it'll be interesting to watch, and you should watch how these drivers manage track conditions. Victor González is not wasting any time. He's pulled out a significant lead, an 8-second lead from P2. Paveleto comes through the S's, car 76. The green Lamborghini Gallardo is in second place. Lee Carpentier also, frankly, having served a penalty in yesterday's pit stop gymnastics, is redeeming himself, and he is holding P3. In this race, you have two categories of racers. Professionals, such as González and Paveleto. Amateurs, such as Lee Carpentier in third place. Kevin Conway is a pro. David Welch in fifth is an amateur. Dylan McIvern, who won the race overall yesterday, is an amateur. John Ferrano has moved himself up to P7. The Gallardo LP574 that you're watching is a production-based race car, but it is race-ready with all the speed and safety equipment to make for a proper race car and proper lap times around this place. To give you some perspective, although we're not doing that in the rain, where our lap times are in the 134 to 140-ish range in the wet, practice and qualifying and race yesterday was in the 120, 121 range on a dry surface. Put that in context to the history of MoSport, of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Can-Am cars, the beloved Chaparral 2C, the McLaren M1B, on a racetrack that is fundamentally, literally, unchanged through its entire history in terms of its road configuration. Those great race cars were doing minute 24 laps. So this car, with its 570 horsepower, V10 power, aerodynamics, and all the tool driver assist that we discussed, are getting around here pretty quick. And they seem to be managing the wet surface well. We've had no offs, we've had no spins. The drivers are doing their job too. 7 minutes into the race, Victor González still holds court with now a 12-second lead. Paveleto, P2. Kevin Conway, P3. Lee Carpentier, P4, David Welch 5th, McIvern 6th, Ferrano still in 7th. The racers can focus on their driving because these Gallardos run a E-transmission transaxle 6 speeds with paddle shift. Mid-engine design, Olin race shocks, multi-adjustable Brembo brakes, data acquisition, how car is performing and make adjustments. Carbon fiber front splitter and dive planes, an aerodynamic under tray. And as you watch the rooster tails pop out of the back of these fours and balance the car with that multi-adjustable rear wing that you also see with that gooseneck mount that keeps the underflow of the rear wing clean for even more downforce. These are serious 200 mile an hour race cars. Into turn one, a battle with Thomas Pickler and John Ferrano for that P6 position. Battle brewing, Jason, with positions 5 through 8, it looks like. David Welch, Dylan McIvern, John Ferrano, Thomas Pickler, within a second of each other, a little bit of a second plus as they head their way through, it looks like turn 5, onto the Andretti straightaway.
The exciting part about this racing is really, as you mentioned earlier, the ability for the amateurs to mix it up with the pros and be able to learn a little bit while they're out here and to push themselves beyond what they would normally do if they're running a typical amateur class. So this is really exciting to see, as you were saying, positions 5 through 8, where we have a mix of 2 amateurs leading 2 pros out there. It'll be nice to see how this shakes up as the race progresses.
Now, there were a lot of comments yesterday in the post-race about managing the tire of the Pirelli P0 tires, race tires that are on this car. In wet conditions, you still have the same responsibility. It's a little different. It's getting temperature in the tires. So these racers are still working the wheel and getting everything out of that tire. Tire wear should not be a problem. Tire longevity should not be a problem, but you still need to get temperature to go quick.
Exactly. Without that temperature, you're not going to stick, and considering these conditions.
In that mid-pack battle, David Welch still holds P5, Dylan McIvern in 6, but Thomas Pickler has moved up to 7th position. Ferrano trails them. Pickler making a move, setting himself up as we approach turn 5, again the Moss corner, to get a good shot down Andretti straightaway. Takes a little bit of a later apex, and and McIvern's car steps out as he goes to power to come down the back straightaway. The 4 of them are running nose to tail. Pickler's trying to get a little bit of an inside line on McIvern with that slip up. Looks to the outside. Rooster tails all over the place. Is going to try to make the outside pass into 8. Comes around the outside of McIvern and gets it done and keeps carrying momentum to get to the outside of David Welch. As they head into the S's, he did, in fact, make the move. Pickler picked up 2 positions on the Andretti back straightaway, and please don't allow me to come up with lines like that again. Lamborghini know about the Gallardo and where it is in its life, and it's making for a proper race car. But you've got a new vehicle out on the production side, the Huracan, and that's on display down at the Lamborghini Village. Tell us a little bit about that car, if you will.
Well, the Huracan is an evolution. It's the descendant of the Gallardo, and the Gallardo has actually been Lamborghini's most successful car. After a 10-year run, there was more than 14,000 Gallardos that were sold globally, which clearly established it as the most successful Lamborghini ever. The Huracan is meant to be able to carry the torch to move forward the brand and move forward the V10 family. And this car delivers 610 horsepower, all-wheel drive, and the all-wheel drive is actually different. As opposed to the all-wheel drive that's on the Gallardo, that has a fixed distribution of torque. The Huracan actually has a variable distribution of torque through an electronically controlled system. And what this system does is it allows the car to be able to change between delivering a normal fixed distribution of torque with 30% to the front, 70% to the rear, and it can actually transfer up to 50% to the front or 100% to the rear.
On the racetrack, thank you, I'm not trying to cut you off, but Pickler is tearing through the track. He just made a pass and will have got himself into 4th position as again he went rain line around Lee Carpentier, position 4, car number 80. Pickler lap times are in the 1:34, 1 minute 34 range. Our leader, Victor González, has in effect checked out for the moment. Pit stops are still coming. He's doing laps in a 1:33.5. Paveleto and Corey Lewis redeeming themselves from yesterday, 1:33.7 in their lap times. 14 seconds back, however. Conway holds P3. Pickler, as I said, has moved up significantly. Ferrano has dropped to 8th place. His championship battle, with 13 minutes into the race and 36 minutes left to go, needs to pick up a little bit more. We were talking about the championships. We were talking about there was pro and amateur categories. Kevin Conway and Ferrano are battling the pro side. After yesterday's race, Kevin O'Connell leads the amateur, but Dylan McIvern is in second place in the amateur points. Only 5 points back. 26 points for O'Connell, 21 for McIvern. The interesting thing is that McIvern has accumulated that tally in only 3 races. And in addition to the drivers, we have a team championship. A number of these teams who represent dealers, which we'll talk about in a second, run multiple cars. To score team championship points, the highest placing team car earns the points. Pickler battling car number 29, Kevin Conway, for third place, is one such battle. Conway is in a Change Racing Lamborghini of Carolina's race car, and Pickler is in the Jota Corsa Lamborghini of Dallas race car. Again, here comes Pickler, who is taking full advantage of traction down through 2, goes around the outside, uses a little bit of the white line, takes the position as he heads up into 3.
He passed Kevin Conway on the outside right there through the rain. Incredible pass there. Surprising to see that he was able to keep the car stable.
John Ferrano is starting to get it done. He's moved up to 6th place and maybe even more, as again, we think we just saw an outside pass once again around the edges of this track. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park is beautiful, but I can assure you that the edge of this track is the only place you can put this car. It's almost now like driving a street circuit. Those white lines represent the equivalent of a wall around a street course like a Long Beach. If you go off and touch the grass, it won't be just hitting a wall. It'll be going for a long dance and then the sudden impact. Jason, a little bit of how I had mentioned dealers are participating in this Super Trofeo series.
We actually approach our dealer network as actually our partners in our mutual businesses together. And the dealer network supports all of the cars that are out here. In fact, you'll see with the exception of one car, every car that's out on the grid has a dealer associated to it. And really it's an opportunity for us, between working with our dealers and our client and our dealers' clients, to be able to put together a program that gives them a chance to come out here and experience the world of motorsports according to Lamborghini. And if we take a look at the grid, we actually have Lamborghini Carolinas, who from yesterday took both second and third position. And obviously it's good exposure for the dealership itself, and also helps for them to be able to support their customers in cultivating the motorsports program.
Action on track as John Ferrano in that white and red Lamborghini. Gallardo going through turn 2, working a little bit of lap traffic. Behind him, Dylan McIvern closing in to try to recover a position that he did in fact lose. And now at the 20-minute mark with our first pit stop, the window is open for mandatory pit stops. And I think we see Victor González in the pits, taking full advantage of the gap that he has created, somewhere around 12, 11 seconds over Paveleto, car number 76. Remember, when Paveleto stops, he will in fact make a pure driver change. Corey Lewis will step into... hit pit entrance. Our second pit stop is happening, second and third. David Welch is in behind. Quite honestly, a race car that I cannot see. We'll wait for the signal on timing and scoring. Lee Carpentier is coming. Lee Carpentier has come into the pits as well. David Welch has pitted right behind him. Behind the stop, there is an opportunity to check pressures, make adjustments. No tire changes.
The exciting thing about the actual pit stops and the changes for some of those drivers is it gives us a chance to almost reset the race in some cases. They have to have the right strategy to avoid pit lane traffic, or maybe even take advantage of that if possible. And we've seen that Kevin Conway has been a master of that. In some cases, he's been a little too smart for his own good, and tried to get out of the paddock, the pits, a little bit faster than expected.
González exits pit lane as Paveleto Lewis car enter pit lane for their stop. Car number 76, the green Lamborghini Gallardo from MoSport MoSport, Lamborghini of Boston. As these pit stops occur, we will see how the order kind of resets itself. Thomas Pickler has not pitted, taken advantage of that, and just has taken the lead as he passed the start-finish. Remember, as some of our other competitors, González made his pit stop, Paveleto making his pit stop. Kevin Conway is now in pit lane executing his stop. We are 27 minutes into the race, 3 more minutes for the pit window. We still have maybe half the field who have not executed that stop yet.
Chief talking to Kevin Conway there. They're also checking tire pressures, make sure that everything is good to go with the car, making sure that he's got the count so he gets in and out in the right amount of time, and that they keep the speed down through pit lane as well. That's another way that they can get penalties through the pit lane.
We're talking with the racers. Obviously, we had spoken earlier about the tools that assist the driver. 4-wheel drive, traction control, ABS. But the reality is, as the drivers explain, you don't just mash or club foot the pedal for braking with ABS. You do get a sensation. You still do have to modulate, and you use the application of brake, even with the four-wheel drive, to balance the rotation of this car. There are some trail braking capabilities. Traction control helps you power out. Front-wheel drive, as part of the four-wheel drive feature, help you exit the corners. This is the only four-wheel drive race car, not just single-make race car, other than the hyper-exotic Lamborghini LP1s. So this is a unique experience for very few, but a great skill. And today, at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, a wonderful tool to have in hand.
We saw Tom O'Gara and Dean DiGiacomo, their car number 33, come in for a pit, and they're doing a driver change as well. We'll see that here shortly and see them getting back out there to hopefully change their position currently in 12.
Its way through turn 4 is still our current leader. Ferrano, as Jason mentioned, is in the pits. We'll reset the order as we cross start finish. We'll find out whether the pit stops of Pickler and Victor González Jr., how they reset the field.
Mandatory pit in. As mentioned before, he has 90 seconds to complete from the point of coming into the pit lane to sitting there and then getting out. He cannot leave with any earlier than that 90 seconds out, or he will be penalized. So we've seen
Ferrano battling another competitor for pit exit, gets his done, and heads into turn 2 ahead of a little bit of a pit stop race. As the pit stops complete themselves, it looks like some strategy and some race pace, and probably the importance of the in and out laps have paid off for Thomas Pickler, who now is our leader in that yellow, bright yellow car number 1. John Ferrano, I'm using the word too much, but has redeemed himself. Victor González is in P2. John Ferrano has hauled himself up into that third podium position in car number 63.
It looks as though Joe Courtney is the only one that we're waiting for a pit in, and we have 3 minutes to go for the pit window.
Excursion for car 77. In the pits. They're talking to the driver. They're checking the car. Obviously, a great run up through the field is potentially coming to naught, certainly damaging any chance of a win, as we're 22 minutes left to go in this race. Not seeing a lot of action from the crew around the Pickler car. As we cross the start finish, car number 99, the white and orange Change Racing Lamborghini, Victor González should assume the lead. Correct, car 77, who was the car that went off, maybe racing back to the front of the racetrack to get his pit stop completed, has missed his window. As we say that, Pickler exits the pits for his, what we believe was his second stop.
Less than a minute to go, comes in for his mandatory pit in, and that will give us all drivers now completed for the pits.
Racing, because I misread the time clock. Thank you for saving me there. And I was also a little ahead of ourselves, but it has come true what I said earlier. Victor González, through the efficiency of his racing on track and his pit stop execution with his team, has retaken the lead. Thomas Pickler should remain in second place in the yellow car. Car number 1. Povaledo, turning the car over to Corey Lewis, will remain in position 3, and the pit window is now officially closed. And as Jason, the only accurate one here in the announcer's booth, had noticed, car 77 did in fact make it into the pit stop window in time, despite his on track.
Joe Courtney is now leaving the pits and will be joining the track right as all of the group comes back around the first straight and down the first corner.
Turn 2. Ferrano in the middle of it, followed by our leader from race 1, our winner from race 1, Dylan McIvern. Heading up toward turn 3, processional, but heading toward a confidence requiring turn 4, the bridge, the dip that heads down and up toward the Moss corners A, B, and C. Dylan McIvern is definitely setting himself up behind Ferrano for the run down the Andretti straightaway. The standard comment obviously is that an aerodynamic car is affected by nose-to-tail action. Quite frankly, at these race paces, I think that's a little bit negated. So McIvern maybe has a little more latitude to work. While Ferrano goes inside car number 80, Lee Carpentier. So that battle is 5th, 6th, and 7th as they head toward the S's onto the front straightaway. That is the battle on track. Car number 80, Carpentier, Ferrano, followed by McIvern. Inside look by Ferrano. Not going to happen in turn 1. On the power hard. Track left. Over the crest into 2. Little bit of an earlier apex. Trying to carry speed. McIvern follows through. On the throttle. Upshift the paddle shift E transaxle toward turn 3. Ferrano's definitely taking a little bit of a turn in. And Carpentier is squaring that corner off to get those front tires pointed straight and on the gas. And he's holding advantage. While all of this is happening, our leader, Victor González, Jr., in the Change Racing Lamborghini Gallardo, is once again pushing out a gap to comfortably lead this race with 16 minutes to go. Pickler working through lap traffic in front of him across the start finish, getting ready to move around Kevin O'Connell in car number 15. About 9 seconds back, Corey Lewis in the car is now chasing down that second place position. Pickler looking inside, looking outside as they come through 2. Makes makes the inside pass into 3, slides wide, but a respectful and being lapped Kevin O'Connell lets the move stick, allows Pickler to get on his way. So that's the other thing you do learn in racing. It's managing traffic as you're racing through the field as one of the quicker racers, and frankly, as you're being lapped, as you're learning your craft. Because as you move up to more levels of professional racing with multi-class racing, both those skills have to be learned. So good job on O'Connell, excellent job on Pickler, and quite frankly, with ABS and traction control and four-wheel drive, he still proved you still have to drive this race car. It's all about grip, adhesion, and managing the balance of this car. As you watch these cars dance, and I'm using that cliched word, we're starting to see as the track dries a little bit because the rain has abated somewhat. These cars are dancing for traction. We also see parts of the surface kind of getting a little lighter in color. I don't think we're in a place where these racers are searching for wet to keep the tires under them, but they are definitely searching for grip. Closer than ever, Ferrano behind Carpentier, right behind him McIvern. They spread out, and on the inside, Ferrano tries to go under Carpentier into turn 1. It's not going to happen, but they are side by side heading toward 2. McIvern is all over the back of this. He's hoping, watching for the mistake, the momentum shift. Wide for Carpentier, the rain line inside for Ferrano using four-wheel drive traction. Ferrano trying to make a dive on the inside, not going to happen. And while all this is happening, David Welch, an astute amateur racer in car 88, has closed up behind him. So a 3-car battle is soon to become 4. And in this part of the race, at this place in the race, a 4-car battle takes you from either position 5 down to position 8. A feel good, I got everything out of the car, or oh my gosh, why am I only 8th? So these guys will really, really be going at it. 13 minutes and change to go.
Even as we saw yesterday, there's a possibility, even if you come in, if you're placed right now in 5th or 4th, something can happen to one of the top 3. As we saw yesterday with, I believe one of the gentlemen had a flat tire, which ended up putting us in a position where Kevin Conway picked up the podium to 3rd.
Carpentier is definitely racing defensive. Ferrano is trying to get the maximum speed out of corners as they come through the S's. As they come through the S's, Ferrano tries the same thing on the inside. It's not going to work. Racers being racers, McIvern, the 3rd in this queue, is managing his frustration, biding his time, but I'm sure he's getting indicators from his pit crew and his race engine. Carpentier is definitely looking for dry grip. Racers being racers, McIvern, the 3rd in this queue, is managing his frustration, but still running that outside line. Ferrano believes the line is cleaning up and he's going more to a classic line. Both are maintaining equal lap times, but Ferrano's objective is to get by. That's not happening. Carpentier is accomplishing his task. He's keeping these 2 race cars behind him. Welch made the lunge to get close, but has backed off, or has fallen back to be more accurate. You know he's trying. Here comes Ferrano again down the Andretti straightaway, trying a side-by-side move into 8 on the outside, dives underneath. A little bit of bait and switch here. Not far enough along into 8 as they get to the S's. And we see them come through once again the same. Ferrano dives on the inside of 9, hits Carpentier, spins him sideways, gets through. Obviously a situation for the race director. We'll see what happens next. But Ferrano, from that half spin, did not hit the tire barriers, locked him up as a proper racer should when he spun, kept the car off the wall, restarted, is back on his way, but in that dreaded P8 position of this four-car battle. So to reset the order, Victor González, car number 99, our pro. Thomas Pickler, number 1 in P2. Corey Lewis in P3. The two championship contenders. Dylan McIvern in 6th, Welch in 7th. One rarely comes to a racetrack to predict because of all the variables, but I would have to believe as I stop myself to catch my thoughts, that John Farano will not survive a race control review. And as it turns out, I'm just not prophetic. I've just been watching enough racetracks. Car number 63, Farano, for that incident with Carpentier, will be serving a penalty in pit lane. So what was looking like redemption at the 11-minute mark turns out to be another frustrating race for our championship battler, John Farano. We are now down within the 10-minute mark as this race continues. And if there's any consolation for Lee Carpentier, he'll understand that Farano was penalized. But now Lee's work is cut out for him. From position 8 in that car number 80, he'll have to battle, frankly, an old friend of his, David Welch, in car 88. Try to get himself up into yesterday's race 1 winner in position 6, Dylan McIvern.
He has a 10-second gap here, and it looks like 10 minutes to pull that off as well. So as we see that mandatory pit in from John Farano, that will give the pack of Dylan McIvern, David Welch, and Lee Carpentier an opportunity to be able to tighten it up a little bit and see if you might be able to make up those positions.
Well, I mentioned the race conditions, the weather has changed a little bit. It is coming in and out, and it really has not had an effect on race times. Our lap times are still sitting in the 1:32, 1 minute 33 range. The best were recorded by Thomas Pickler at 1:31.7. And also by Povaledo with a 1:31.9. That replay shows why John Farano is serving the penalty as he enters pit lane. A little bit ambitious, maybe a little bit opportunistic, and certainly a little bit naive to think that Carpentier would give him room on that one. The Pro and Am Championships and the Team Championships, they're battling for this type of points differential. Our first place win will get you 15 points. Second 12, third 10, all the way down to that 1 point for 10th position. Once again, Kevin Conway, while he's sitting in 4th position, not winning as he's done this year, not on the podium as he did yesterday, Farano, very much lower in the points, maybe out of the points, will further that 25-point gap that he's created from yesterday's competition. And as I mentioned, this is race 8 of 12, so the countdown in everyone's head is an invite to the World Finals in Sepang, where all of the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series come together for the best of the best to show your stuff, prove your mettle.
Following this weekend's racing at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, August 22nd through 24th, we will be at Virginia International Raceway with the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series. And then following that will be the North American finale, which will be October 1st through the 3rd at Road Atlanta for the Petit Le Mans Series. So this gives us an excellent opportunity for Lamborghini fans across North America to join us at those 2 races that we have coming up for the remainder of the North American season. And as was mentioned earlier, the top racers from each one of the seasons across the world will join us on November 22nd through 23rd in Malaysia at Sepang for the World Final. And last year the World Final was actually won by a North American, actually a driver that's not in the race today but has joined us at many of the races throughout the season, and that's Mr. Andrew Palmer. And we expect to be able to see, hopefully, having another American take the World Final as well.
In addition, you can check out all the action and all the information for the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series at squadracorsa.com. For those of you watching live stream on air, that's where you'll find it. And also at imsa.com, where the information of this IMSA sanctioned series also resides. Squadra.lamborghini.com. I'll get it right. Squadracorsa.lamborghini.com. That's what happens when you talk internet with an old guy. This sucks. Okay, here we are. 5 minutes to go. Victor González, car number 99, has a 10-second gap to second place Thomas Pickler, who ran himself up through the field with great racing, great rain racing, an efficient pit stop. Corey Lewis, teammate to Aaron Paveleto, car 76, the green car, is in third position, another 8 seconds back. And then the gap is enormous. But in fourth place is our championship leader, Kevin Conway. Dylan McIvern has, in fact, passed David Welch for fifth position. Lee Carpentier is battling David Welch, but that Ferrano still sits in 8th position. Reese. Lee Carpentier in car 80, lapping some cars, car 73. Farther behind, Ferrano trying to make up that gap on Lee to grab how many points, the maximum points that he can. Right now in P8, 3 points. Conway, our championship leader in fourth, will earn 8 points. 25 becomes 30 as the races count down. A mistake is often a motivator in racing, and John Ferrano is cutting. Lap times in the 132 flat range. He just did his best lap of the race. Back to that motivation comment. Victor González, through no mistake, just managing his car, waiting for the end of the race. Very, very soon we should be expecting the white flag for car number 99, the white and orange Change Racing Lamborghini from Lamborghini of Carolinas. Teammate to Kevin Conway. Support his teammate in Kevin's fight for the championship. So stealing points from the competitors is part of his agenda. But if you find yourself quick and at the front of the race, it's not like marathons. You're not going to be the pace setter and give it up. You're going to get it done. Matter of fact, that reminds me of that LA marathon where the rabbit never quit and won the race. If he could. And he is.
And it looks like Lamborghini Carolinas and the dealer principal, Mr. Eddie Littlefield, is going to be happy. He said he wanted 1 and 2. He's going to get 1 and 4, so at least he's got 1 out of the bunch, taking it 2 and 3 yesterday. So we'll see as this final lap and the White flag is out. And it looks so far, Victor got over Lori.
Has gotten his car by Pickler. We missed whatever contretemps happened, but right now, as they head toward the checkered flag, Victor González back to cutting laps in the 1 minute 33 range. Corey Lewis laying down laps in the 1:31 and 1:30 range. Clearly has picked up the pace to get second position from Pickler. Kevin Conway stays fourth. Ferrano back in eighth. And that's the championship battle in Pro. In the amateur competition, Dylan McIvern will pick up points as he is P5, while his competitor in amateur driving championship, Kevin O'Connell, is in ninth. As Victor González exits the S's head sort start finish, he should see the checkered flag, and he does. Our winner, Victor González Jr. Right behind, Corey Lewis hauling that Lamborghini Gallardo past the start finish to finish second. Corey Lewis, Aaron Pavato in car number 76. And coming onto the front straightaway, the completion of our podium, Thomas Pickler, white number 1, or yellow, and Lamborghini of Boston, P2. Third, Joe DeCorsa. Lamborghini of Dallas. As this race number 2, comes to a conclusion here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series. Our winner, Victor González. Second place, the team of Aaron Pavaleto and